Hey, Whippersnappers, this is Tortoise the Grey. Welcome back to another exciting episode of ARK Survival Evolved. We are out on South Sprout, not really out, we're on South Sproutshire, that's where we live. Put that torch away, we don't really need it. And I wanted to just take today to give you guys a little bit of an update. It's been a little while since I recorded anything on here. I know you guys had an episode just on Tuesday, but that was recorded, it's been a while. I want to say at least 2 weeks ago, and so it's been a little while since. Ooh, these trikes like to get stuck back here. I miss Piggy and Wilbur. But I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update on where we're at as a tribe, how things are going, just to kind of give you a rundown of everything that's here, changes that are going to be coming to the island and map and things like that. Just to give you guys a bit of an update, I don't have a ton really planned today, besides just running everything down for you guys. But we've got a lot planned for the future, so we need to get more parachutes. Where? Oh, I think actually they're right in here. Maybe. Yes, they are. You guys might have started seeing the footage filtering out, but it's possible that you haven't yet. But a couple of nights ago, at this point, the server, there we go, words. The server had a bit of an event, and they all went mosasaur hunting, and I was there for a little while, but then real life kicked in, and we weren't finding anything. Everyone was, like, getting real hurt and everything, and since the nerf, like, Locke, our plesiosaur, he's level 90. He's, I think, pretty much max level. I think he's the highest level plesiosaur on the, well, I know he's the highest level plesiosaur on the server now, because he might be the only tamed plesiosaur on the server at the moment. Because Elwyn's Lapras, unfortunately, I think died in the encounters with the mosasaurs. Unfortunately, they've really kicked up the ocean spawns, and so we were getting mobbed, and nobody was really expecting that. Since the nerf, where they took out people's health stats and melee stats and all that, Locke really just isn't doing doing the work like he used to, and he's still great. But, I mean, he was really taking a beating. Like, I took on, like, 2 mosasaurs. And granted, remember, Locke is level 90. The wild mosasaurs are, like, level 35. So, or, not mosasaurs, plesiosaurs are, like, level 35. So he's, like, almost 3 times the level of these things. And he was still, like, almost at half health after taking out those 2. And it wasn't even, like, user error. He just was... I mean, he was able to kill him, but after those encounters, he was pretty low, so it was worrisome. But then real life kicked in. Unfortunately, we were going, and I just didn't have the time that I thought I was going to, and so I had to leave before we really even encountered any mosasaurs. But, yeah, so I don't have any footage from that. I decided to scrap it because I didn't really get anywhere with it, but it was just a bunch of people hanging out. It was a lot of fun. So, let me think. So the last thing you guys saw was Jay and I, we were up at April's base, on the far end of the island, and we were collecting Rufus, our kangaroo, and so I think a little bit before that, well, okay, so we got the new Spino, which I have renamed. I think I named it Rusty that episode, which I think was a good name, but April actually suggested a different name. She suggested Copper, because, I mean, Rust and Copper are similar. I mean, he's got coppery kind of tones. And she sold me on it when she suggested, because I actually like the name Rusty better. It just rolls off the tongue a little bit better than Copper. It feels more like a name, because I know people people named Rusty than like Copper. But she sold me on it because really in this game, Spinosaurs are just big dogs. Ooh, and he's got a level. Fantastic. Let's do stamina this time. Spinos really are just big dogs. They lop around like puppies, and they're just so cute. And so she suggested the name because of his color and because of Copper, the Hound from Fox and the Hound, which I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but Fox and the Hound was my absolute favorite Disney movie when I was a kid. I always loved dogs, and so Fox and the Hound, that was where it was at for me. I mean, yeah, Aladdin was great, and all these other movies were fine, but Fox and the Hound has always been my favorite. It's like the first DVD Disney movie I ever owned, Like that's the one that I bought when I started like collecting DVDs of my own. I bought Fox and the Hound, and so that is Copper is the name of the hound in that movie, the little animated puppy. And so that was great. And they really are. I mean, I think I even called this thing a mutt when we were playing, or when we were taming it and stuff. And so yeah, I mean, they're very much like dogs, and that is a perfect name. So I've renamed Rusty to Copper, and we're gonna gather up. We're gonna gather up some meat here to get everybody fed. I don't know when the last time Jay or I was on. We've been on a little more scarcely in the last, couple weeks. Ever since my first live stream, so it's been a couple of weeks, yeah. One of our good friends, you guys remember him from my Pixelmon series and things like that, but Kays, he's a good friend of mine, and he's prominent in the community, or at least was at one point. He used to stream a lot and do things like that, but he and his friends, and what's going on here? He and his friends have a, or at least on a ARK server as well, and they've got theirs set up. They actually just did a restart a couple of weeks ago, and so we joined just before that. So like I had tamed a saber cat or something, but basically hadn't done much, and they're like, "Hey, would everybody okay?" Oh, good fog. Like, "Hey, would everybody okay if we did a reset?" I was like, "Well, I don't really care. I haven't really done much yet." So they did a reset recently, but when they reset, because their server had been like ours too at the start, where like, the highest level was 30 and all that kind of stuff. With the new server, they've kicked it up to the full difficulty, so like the highest level is, the highest level is what? 120, I think, in the wild. But they've also kicked up all the multipliers, so like, level 1 Parasaur. I'm like, there's no way that this Bronto was only level 3. Man, see these multipliers, or the nerfing really has killed it. But anyway, so they've got all the multipliers up, so you level up much quicker. Taming is like, our taming multipliers on like 2 times, and I think theirs is on like 8 times, so it goes much quicker. So you can progress and get stuff together much quicker. So Jay and I have actually spent a fair bit of time over on that server, just for fun. I'm not recording it, and I don't really intend to. It's purely for fun, which is kind of a refreshing thing for a YouTuber who basically, like, all the video games I play now have to be games for the channel. Like, I don't have any free time after doing channel stuff to also then, play games for fun. And so that's why, honestly, like, the last month or so, updates have been some have gone up late, and, we've been a little scarcer on some updates and stuff like that even, because I don't have that free time. I have no free time to give, but I've been spending some of my YouTube time on that server. So my house is built and stuff over there. It's not. I mean, I don't want to get too much into it because you guys will never see it. But it's slowing down a bit. I definitely don't need to be spending as much time on there. I'll spend some time on there occasionally, but for the most part, I'm going to try and get back into things. But because it's so much easier for me if I'm caught up on stuff here, because I stress about it. Ooh, level 24. Well, that's a little disappointing, but that's okay. But anyway, yeah, so I've been spending some time there, but it's been a lot of fun getting back into this. We've got a lot of plans here, and so I want to talk about that stuff today, because I've got some things I'm excited about here on this server. And so, and I'm not leaving this server. There's no risk of that. This is where my series is happening, and so Jay and I will both be continuing to play on this server. But we were just doing that other one for fun because some of our friends were there, and it was easier to do some stuff. So, anyway, let's feed everybody real quick. I don't even know how I got on that. Maybe I got on that because I was talking about feeding, because I don't know the last time Jay or I was on, because it seems like sometimes when we might otherwise get on here to feed people or derp around or whatever, we end up jumping on the other one or something instead, because it seems like our tribe mates we've got a tribe of like 6 over there. Ooh, wow. We got a tribe of like 6 over there, I think, and it seems to be a little more active. It seems like our tribe mates are on much more frequently. Ooh, that anger jelly. Well, whatever. We can get more. What's happening here? Get all this crap out of here. There we go. Alright, and we'll toss one of those. Alright. Now, get all this meat in the lock. He's the only meat eater left over here. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. Ooh, I'm about to drown, aren't I? Yep. So that's one of the things I want to talk about. The poop shack is officially retired. I think at one point Jay was doing something, and he accidentally whistled Jay he was trying to get Locke or one of his birds or something, and I think he was getting attacked by something in the water maybe, and he panicked and he hit Jay, and like everything came off again, and it's happened more times than like it happens more times than I'd care to admit. It seems like I'm always replacing stuff on here, and it's not only Jay. It's, you know, I will do it. I'll accidentally whistle, you know, the J key, which is whistle all. Or, you know, Jay will do it, or a Bronto will be over here angry, and it'll sweep its tail and knock everybody off. Or we'll attack something, and we'll accidentally have left, or accidentally at some point have whistled neutral, or attacking my target or whatever, and so while, you know, we attack something in that range, then they all fly off to come help, and it's like, it's such a pain to get everybody back on there, and eventually I had to recognize that, honestly, it wasn't doing any good. That whole thing, like, now we have the Phiomias to crank out poop, so we don't need that. Honestly, it wasn't really helping with eggs, because half the time the eggs would glitch into the poop shack and stuff. So as proud as I am of that build, I love that little build. We're retiring it for that purpose. So all of the dinos now, there's none of the dinos over there, except for the Phiomias. Because the crops and stuff are still there, so that's still where they're needed. But the rest of the dinos that had been up there are now in the cove with everybody else, which works out. It's one less feeding trough we've got to fill. I don't use that feeding trough anymore because apparently somebody misinformed me at the beginning, because apparently somebody had told me that feeding troughs. I was waiting for stamina to come back, but apparently we just weren't sprinting. That was not stamina's fault. Somebody had told me at one point that feeding troughs lasted as long, the materials in the feeding trough lasted as long as materials in the dinosaur, so that there was like no downside to using a feeding trough or whatever, which is actually not correct. Apparently meat at least spoils 4 times quicker in a feeding trough than in the dinosaur. That's gonna be plenty. I don't put meat in the feeding trough anymore over there. It's still, at this point, it's still easier for us to use feeding troughs than to try and individually feed all the dinos. It just is. So, I mean, it's easier for us to just collect more food than it is to go through each dino and be like, alright, do you have food? Because I'm just not gonna do that. Because we have way too many dinos at this point. Which we will probably, at some point, Jay and I were talking this last weekend, probably going to be cutting back on that a little bit. There are some dinos, like we've got the trikes and stuff, and while they look cool, we haven't used them for anything, even like since we came to this island, because I already had Spike before we came to South Sproutshire. And honestly, Spike was always a better bet than the trikes, and then since we tamed Tiny, we haven't even really used the Stegos a whole lot. And so we're thinking, I was asking Jay, like, which of these dinos do you have, like, sentimental attachment to? Because I've got a couple. I mean, like, my original group, like Fluffy and Neko and, you know, my original 3 Dilos and even Spike. You know, some of those, I had very few dinos when we first came to this island. And so some of those guys I'm still kind of attached to. But, you know, the rest of them, it's like, all right, let's... And it's hard for me to say that because the rest of them are Jays, essentially. So I asked him, like, which of these would you be willing... So he's like, well, I want to keep the Ninja Turtles, and I want to keep, you know, the Wolves, and, you know, he had a couple that were actually useful. It's like, well, yeah, we'll definitely keep the useful ones. I'm not looking to get rid of any dinos that were, you know, have uses for. Alright, so you're just full of Prime at this point. Fantastic. The Prime's not even worth putting in here. It'll spoil before we even get the chance to do anything with it. So yeah, we'll probably will be at some point getting rid of some of our dinos. Although right now it's manageable at least. We have the means to collect the food necessary for them. So it's not so bad, but like we've got 3 T-Rexes. We don't need 3 T-Rexes. Both of Jay has a mated pair that he tamed on his own, but the Rex that we tamed on camera, Brock, we might end up getting rid of him. He was a pretty low level, I think, for the most part, and he's just not necessary. So the part of the problem is, I don't know if we're going to get rid of any dinos. If they have a potential use, we'll probably find some place for them. Like Jay's been developing North Sproutshire up on the if you see where it says me, we're in the very southeast corner of the map on South Sproutshire. And up in the very northwest corner of the map, you guys can see that's been filled in, just, the little place up in the snow. There's a little island that's about the size of South Sproutshire that Jay has claimed called North Sproutshire. And we're not going to go out there yet because Jay's doing some work, and so I'm going to let him do that, his reveal and everything. But if it ends up being that we're setting up, more than one, satellite base or something, we probably will take some creatures like, Brock, because he's still a decent level compared to the wilds and stuff. Lady Rex is a lower level, but she's, the female, so we're not going to get rid of her. We still need the eggs and things like that. And obviously Megatron was a much higher level tame. I don't know if he's been leveled up in a while. Let's see, where's his card? Oh, there it is. Yeah, so it looks like he's got a level. Let's take a look at him. Alright, so he's just got one. But yeah, so any dinos that might have utility, we might move to different bases. But things like, Jay's Parasaur, he doesn't really care about, so we might get rid of that. We'll probably get rid of both the Trikes. We'll probably hold on to... Psyche's a pretty decent level, I guess, but we'll probably hold on to we'll definitely hold on to the skeleton skins, and maybe if we find like a perfect tame Trike or something, we'll get one of those, but honestly, we just don't use them for anything, and we haven't since like we came to the island, so they're just taking up space. Jay said he's not real attached to prickers. We might get rid of prickers, I guess, potentially. Although she's a female, we have a mated pair. We'll probably keep both the stegos, if even just for the egg production. The packies are purely for egg production. Otherwise, we'll probably get rid of them at some point. And so some of these, Amara, now that she's not on the poop shack, we'll probably release her. We might set up a safety or a reserve or something where we can release our dinos that we're not using anymore, something that we don't want to kill, obviously. But yeah, so we're giving that some thought. But yeah, so all the dinos are down here. We need to get some berries still. One of the things, though, so I mentioned that the poop shack has basically been retired for that purpose. I am going to end up expanding this out here, though, because we're not going to use it for that same purpose. It's definitely got some useful things in it. It's got all of our refrigeration and cooking and things like that, as well as our kibble production is all happening in here. Our composting bins, all that kind of stuff all happens out here. And so since this is kind of the taming area, because all of this stuff is here for the purposes of creating kibble for taming, what I think I'm going to do is I'm actually going to expand this place out and create a big pen off the back of it for our taming and or breeding purposes, because we don't really have a good place to do that just yet. And let me get some of these off here. There we go. And so for our purposes of taming or breeding, we don't really have a perfect place for that. So I probably will clean out some of this stuff over in here. Like we've got duplication of basically everything. Like, we probably don't need 2 composting beds anymore. We probably don't need 2 fires. Well, we have 2 cook fires in here, 2 cooking pots, 2 campfires in here. The storage is more or less all necessary. Ooh, lag spike. The industrial grill is obviously necessary. We don't need 2 preserving bins probably anymore. Although, when we expand it out, if we've got a little more room, I might hold on to them, because creating jerky, if we need to. Like, we have so much... We created... Like, I was so gung-ho about it before that we still have so much... Look at it, we've got almost 90 prime meat jerky. We could certainly use more cooked meat jerky, but I need to go about, putting that together. I mean, so... What we'll do, we'll probably expand this out. We'll make, turn it into, a big donut. because I don't want to tear this down. I really like this build. It just doesn't work for what we were using it for, so we'll probably do like a big pen in here. Up at this level will probably be the level that you can like look down in on it. So like we could stand up here and look down in on the taming pen and just trank things or whatever. Ooh, this guy's kind of pretty. Or, like I said, putting breeding dinos in there and stuff like that. We'll have to figure out how all that works, but level 4, meh. Avo, gotta give a shout out to Ronan and Avo especially, who made this awesome platform saddle for us for Locke. He made it for us for part of the Mosasaur fight or hunt, and now we can build structures and stuff on top of Locke and make him kind of a mobile water base, which will be awesome. And last thing I want to talk to you guys about, so those are the plans for the Poop Shack. It's going to become like kind of a taming breeding center, so we'll put a taming bin in there, as well as I might be also putting like a little apartment in there for me as well, because right now I basically live in the Poop Shack. Every time I log out, I'm basically in there. I don't really have like any personal space at all, which is kind of funny because on the other server that Kay's is on, that Jay and I have been playing on, like I've got this big house and all this stuff, and here I literally have nothing. I've never placed down a bed, well, except for now I have on my raft. I've got 2 beds just sitting on my unconstructed raft. But as part of like the taming project, or the taming bin project and everything like that, we also need to finish the aviary, because we have a new member to the tribe, which you guys may have seen earlier, and I just didn't point out, but we have Pretzel the Quetzal. And Jay and April recently were on. I was at work, but Jay had a sick day or something, so he and April got on. And they used the trick where if your Quetzal's got a platform saddle and you build like this cage on its back using dinosaur gates, apparently you can trap Quetzals in there, and then you just pump rounds into it. It can't get out, and you're just motionless, floating there, while somebody's in the cage just tranking the crap out of the Quetzal. And apparently that's what they did, and it was super easy. And so Jay was able to get this awesome Quetzal for us, which is going to make it a lot easier for us to do different stuff here, because one, I need to finish the aviary because this thing is way too big. My goal was always to have 2 floors for flyers, so that's the first floor, and then I've started the second floor, you can see there, but I never finished construction on it because I wasn't really happy with how all the pieces were meshing together, because the building mechanics in this game are just terrible. But I wasn't really happy with how it was meshing together, so I kind of got discouraged and stopped. But I need to finish this, especially now that we have this Quetzal, because there's just not room for everything on this one platform, and the goal was always to have, alright, Jay's going to have his platform so he can customize it however he wants, and then, I would have my platform, same thing, I would keep my flyers there, maybe have some storage, maybe put a bed, whichever, but it was supposed to be so each of us would have our own space, and we haven't really finished that off yet, and especially now that we have this Quetzal, we definitely need to do that because it's way too big to be sharing space with all of our other flyers. Which Jay unfortunately lost Mucus, which was one of the last flyers that we got from Ronan when they had Elwyn was doing a blowout sale, and she gave us a bunch of pterodons and stuff, and that was Cucumber. Cucumber was Elwyn's original thing, and just recently died, which, look at the pterodon just landed on Locke's platform. That's funny. But with this thing, with the Quetzal, we can actually pick up much bigger dinosaurs. I think we can even pick up like trikes and stegos and stuff. Yeah, so we can pick up like trikes and things like that. And so I think mammoths is like the biggest thing. Like I forget what the size breakdown is, but I know we can't pick up like T-Rexes or Spinos or Brontos or some of those other things. But we do have a couple of things on our list that we would love to tame, that we could easily now pick up, well, that we couldn't before, that were a little more problematic previously, but now would be a little bit easier to deal with. That thing's still going to swim back to the island, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, that's fine. It's not a big deal. But, so once we get this big taming bin, we can swing up this river, and, there's usually Carnos and stuff up there. We can keep an eye out for a high-leveled Carno. We're probably better off going up to Carnivore Island, and trying up there. It seems like it seems like they get better drops and stuff up there, and it does seem like sometimes they get higher levels and stuff too. So But I mean, it would still be useful to have, something here so that, we can, if we find something that we want, we can drop it off, and then, come back to it later or whatever. But yeah, so lots of fun projects in store, lots of tames we still yet to do, which will actually, with the Quetzal now, will be much easier to manage. Like the Carno, I want to get a mated pair of Carnos. I want to get all kinds of stuff. There's so many dinosaurs yet that we've yet to tame. Because I want to... Oh, that's something else. I wasn't sure what making all that banging around. But yeah, so much stuff we've yet to do on this series. I'm real excited. I definitely want to get my own kangaroo. Ooh, Tiny left us an egg. What a good girl. I want to get my own kangaroo because that thing is so much fun. And it's not like I can't use Rufus, but I don't want to get Jay's kangaroo killed, because my plan is, as I've mentioned to you guys before, is to, once we get kind of done here on the island, I want to take off, with just a select little small group of dinos. So a mount, and then, maybe one or two, well, definitely not one. So like a mount and like two other protectors. And after the nerf, that may be a little less realistic. But maybe we get, because I said in the kangaroo episode on Tuesday, I was thinking saber cats, but maybe now I need a kangaroo. So maybe we get a kangaroo for our mount, and then we bring Gray and Tan, our saber cats, which I still need to name. You guys gave me a couple of suggestions in the comments of that video, and I still haven't gone back in time. Because I was so backlogged on videos for a long time that I've had them for like 2 months now, but I think that video is only, a couple weeks old or something at this point, or maybe it's about a month old at this point. I don't know. I need to name some of those dinos. Do we have steak in here? Yes. But anyway, guys, I think that's going to be it. The point is we got a lot of exciting stuff coming up. So we'll have some building stuff, we'll have some taming stuff, we'll have some exploration stuff. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to the future here. And what we can accomplish now that we're, getting even just a little further into the game. Things with, like, the Quetzal makes things a lot easier. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Torm the Green. You guys have been great. Make sure those likes, comments, and subscriptions for me, guys. And I will see you all back here next time. Alrighty, guys. Have a good one.